Well, hello there, everyone. So, I want to talk about Greta Thunberg, Donald Trump, the Kardashians. I could go on, but let's just look at those three to start with. So, my question is, what have they all got in common? And my answer is, let's just go straight into the shamanic understanding of what's going on. Because as long as there's been mainstream media, there's been this particular phenomenon in operation. And let me explain it like this. There are people that come onto the mainstream media. One moment we've never heard of them, the next moment they're all over the media. And they are there for a very particular purpose, which is to create polarization in us lot, the ones who watch it, the watchers. So they produce this programming and we watch it. And what they want to do is they want to create a really strong opinion. And I do think Greta Thunberg perhaps is the most beautiful example of this. Because here we have a 16-year-old former schoolgirl who is now part of the circus. And everyone's got opinions about her. And if you were to put her in a search engine or put her into YouTube, you're going to get so many films and articles coming up with strong opinions. And I do feel that perhaps she's the best example of all, which I'm focusing on her particularly, but it applies to all the rest. It applies to flat earth, round earth. It applies to religious conviction, no religious conviction, this religion, that religion. It's all the same thing. So there are forces at work that want us lot to have strong opinions. And the intention is that we will nurture these opinions and feed these opinions with our minds to the extent that we will then go out of our way to have arguments and create conflict with other people, convinced that we are right and those who don't agree with us are wrong and those who do agree with us are also right. So I'm going to take it into a completely different level now. I was in Canada back in 2012 and I was staying with a friend. We'd been out and we came back in and her flatmate had a horror film on. And the people in the room were completely glued to the screen. They were watching this film with rapt attention. So that's another theme I want to throw in. So even a horror film comes into the same category. And so does all advertising on the mainstream media. It's all designed to provoke a reaction. But the reaction that we particularly want to be provoked into is one of negativity, anger, hostility. And so I watched what has now become archetypal speech that Greta gave. It's only weeks ago now, isn't it? United Nations, I think it was. And the speech was fairly short, but what I discovered after just a very short time of watching it, I had to touch the pause button because I felt sick. Now, as a shamanic practitioner, this is the sort of thing we want to pay attention to. We're aware of having these three centers: head, heart and gut. And so it's my gut feelings I pay particular attention to. So I literally felt sick in my gut. And I thought, what is this about? With trepidation, I continued to press play. And what I watched is I watched a young girl expressing rage, hostility, anger, disgust, contempt, and all these really strong emotions. And the empath in me really felt such compassion for her, because let's face it, if you're concerned about the state of the environment today, to have watched the way the world has been going in the last 40, 50 years is nothing short of acutely distressing. But let's go back to the horror film. When I saw all these people watching the horror film, what I could see is I could see them hooked into a screen, and they're all feeding hungry ghosts. In fact, that really could be the subtitle of this film. They're feeding hungry ghosts. And when I get all my buttons pressed, because just like everyone else, I've been indoctrinated, I've been programmed, I've been mind controlled into certain political views throughout my life. And so this is the best one, because this really is going to touch me. The environmental degradation that's going on, that's something that's going to really provoke me, get me into a state of anger, rage, hostility. Except I'm trained as a shaman, so I can see it all from a different understanding. There are beings, and these beings feed off our fear, hatred, rage, hostility, horror, terror, whatever it is. They're feeding off us. We are simply fodder for them. I remember there was a time, a long time ago now, when it seemed to me, from all the programming and the mind control I was taking in from my education, the human beings are the crown of creation. We're the most highly evolved being. This is all the mind control bullshit that was fed to me through my education. There's nothing more evolved than a human being. All animals and plants are here to serve us. And there's nothing that can touch us, because we can take over, control the environment, and turn the whole place into a wasteland if we wish, and nothing, it seems, can stop us. That's what I used to believe. That's what I thought. Well, how wrong I was. Fact of the matter is, there are beings, and they feed off negative emotions. The negative emotions of human beings are particularly potent and powerful for them. And this is why there is so much on the mainstream media to provoke you into strong opinions, to cause you to become angry and hostile to those who don't share them with you, to get into debate, to go to war. Because isn't that what war is all about? My opinion versus the opinion of somebody else. It might be religious, it might be political, it might be economic, it might be social, it might be sexual, it might be environmental, it might be anything. It might be celebrity. My opinions, oh, they're so important, I must defend them to my last breath. Well, actually, the shamanic understanding is to realize how people are being manipulated into these states where we're simply being fodder for beings that feed off negative energies. So the shamanic understanding is to let go of such things and to feel compassion. And I feel compassion for all of the puppets that strut across the stage of the mainstream media at the moment and in the past, because they're all human beings with their own indoctrination, mind control, desires, wishes, hopes, dreams, aspirations, just like you and me. And if they've been co-opted, they've been persuaded to join the puppets dance and to draw people in. So we don't get drawn in. As shamans, we have compassion, we have our opinions, but we don't get drawn in. Which is why you don't find demonstrations filled with shamans, because that's just another example of getting drawn in. So we do what we can in ways that we feel is appropriate without feeding hungry ghosts. So there you are, that's my take on all these puppets that strut the stage at the moment, and to send out love and compassion and blessings to them. It's an interesting time in which we live. Thank you very much.